Good afternoon. I'm Frankie Puckett. I'm the resource teacher at Paintsville Elementary. I have been here for 20 years and I've taught pre-K through fifth grade. This year I have around 20, 25 students that I'm working with due to virtual and in-person learning. So the title of my grant this year is called Teacher. Are you ready to learn? Students, we are ready to learn. And that's what I'm hoping I'll get from my students. The area of focus on this particular grant is I wanted to see if my students' basic foundational skills in reading, fluency, and comprehension, along with number skills, would improve if they had the same type of materials that we use here at school in my classroom at home. So, the reason why I chose this is because my students are very energetic and they love hands on materials. They like to have that concrete representation in order to move them to abstract. It takes a little longer for some, but we do get there. So, my goal for this grant was to be able to provide them with the materials that we use here at school that they normally wouldn't get to take home, such as base 10 blocks or a sliding ruler to work with elapsed time. Some of the items that I want to give them are interactive notebooks. So I'll be using various different types of leveled lined paper. So of course, 5/8 for the lower ones, and then the smaller version as we get up. The other thing I want to use with them are sentence strips and flashcards, so we can go from words, phrases, sentences, and eventually move on to paragraphs with my lowest ones. Some of the other things that I'll be getting are from teacher pay teachers, which could be file folder games or stories that have the same concept like the Statue of Liberty, but at three various different levels. So that way I'll be able to do the same story with my kiddos, so they're all covering the same thing, but each each level is a little bit different. Still the same concept, but they are covering the story in a more complex nature as far as the questions and the vocabulary that's being used. Also, for math, I wanted to be able to use 10 frames with my students. So I have a large one that I've ordered. It's magnetic, so I can use it with my board that I moved accidentally. It fell over actually. And but anyway, so they'll also have their own in their separate baggies of supplies that we'll be sending home in independent task boxes. Another thing that I needed to get is a few boxes of paper since I'm going to be printing so much for them to do at home because I want them to be able to do digital plus paper pencil because I feel it's important that they go ahead and continue with that in school and at home. And like I said, I'm going to do independent learning task boxes that has different things. As you can see on the screen, I do have one picked out. I'm hoping that it will serve well and be able to easily be sanitized when they come back and forth or throughout the school day. I want my kids to have a Renikin because I feel that using that type of manipulative is good visual and concrete representation again to hopefully move them forward by counting by fives or tens to help increase those number skills. The other thing is, we did give Chromebooks to most of the students that didn't have them. I've loaned out the ones that I've gotten in previous grants, and I needed to get them some new headphones, so I went ahead and ordered several sets of those. Uh, the participants in this study, like I said, I have about 25 students, so I went ahead and gauged for 30 students, and they range from, like I said, Head Start is my youngest, she's 4, and then my oldest one is in fifth grade at 11, getting ready to turn 12. I think that's right. And I also have various levels of disabilities. I have oppositional defiant disorder, other health impaired, mild mental disability. I have a couple of students with autism, and then hearing impaired and vision impaired. So being able to supply these materials at home um, is a must for them to continue to progress on where we were. I don't want them to regress. So we want them to be able to have what they need to be successful academically and socially. So my plan is to make these interactive notebooks and supplies with the task boxes uh, being all put together so that way they have everything that they need that we're going to use for that particular month. You know, whether it's rulers, the lapse time ruler, number lines, base 10 frames, sentence strips, flashcards, different things like that, and just basic necessary ones such as dry erase boards, dry erase markers, and different things that I think will help them progress. Now, my plan is to, oops, I already did that, sorry. Uh, I will be collecting data on pre and post tests with math and throughout the four operations. Also, I will be doing a reading fluency and reading comprehension since we'll be sending the interactive notebooks and copies of the stories that they're doing, so that way they can build their library at home with the books that we're doing. Once that their 9 week period is up, I will compile all this data and see what percentage they were at on the pre-test and then where they're at on the post-test, and hopefully we should see a gain. That's that's my hope anyway. Is that all of them will be able to make some type of gain, whether it's 10% to 90%. I want them to continue learning and knowing that we're here to encourage and to motivate them to do it. And we know that during this unprecedented time, during this pandemic, the world has basically stopped, but it hasn't stopped for students and teachers from teaching and learning. So I'm hoping with this grant that I'll be able to hold those kids accountable for their learning using hands-on, interactive uh, task boxes and be able to encourage them to continue learning and increase their scores at the same time. If you have any questions, you may contact me at the email address on here or at the phone number. My school is pretty reasonable. They'll transfer you in if you have a question. Like I said, I really appreciate getting this grant this year to help my students. Thank you.